In this episode of Working with Productivity, I have the wonderful Carissa Ortega. Over to you, Carissa.
So a lot of people ask me, how do you do it? Entrepreneur life. How do you handle multiple businesses at once? Well, for one, I have a great community and team of people that help me stay on track. And two, I use productivity apps as well as some tried and true methods to keep myself organized and on top of my to-do list. Today, I'm going to share with you my 5 tips to stay productive. Hi, my name is Carissa, people call me Kissa, and I'm an entrepreneur and blogger based in Los Angeles. My goal is to share my journey to hopefully inspire others to live their happiest lives. So, let's get into it, shall we? Although I use apps like iCal and Apple Mail, I also use a planner. But on top of that, the main 2 apps that I use are Todoist and Evernote to keep productive. All of my productivity apps are for both personal as well as business. I like to be able to share documents as well as tasks with my team and other family members to make sure that we're all on the same page. To see how I personally set up my Evernote and Todoist accounts, feel free to check out the videos in the description below so that you can reference. So, tip number 1. First and foremost, you have to make sure that you invest time in setting up these productivity apps to work for you. It's about working smarter, not harder, right? I used to think that installing the apps on my phone or downloading the software on my laptop would magically make my life easier, but it didn't. I had to put in time, set up my notebooks properly, set up projects on Todoist to make sure that it works well for my life. If something doesn't work for you, change it and modify it, but you have to try and you have to get started. Also, look for tutorials on YouTube, join forums for productivity nerds, go on Reddit, figure out what other people are doing so that you can pull inspiration from other people and then create a system that works best for you. But you have to invest time. Tip number 2, open up your productivity apps every day. Now, it may sound like common sense, right? But you would be surprised. Going from paper and pen to an app is a very different process. And so I had to make it a habit, and I had to actually set reminders to remind myself to open up my Todoist account, to open up my Evernote notebooks, and see what I needed to get done for that day. Tip number 3. Decide what you're going to use your productivity apps for. So I use Todoist for individual and recurring tasks. For example, I use it to remind myself to pay my bills, use it for weekly chores. Then I use Evernote to plan events, travel. I use it for templates as well as journaling. I planned our latest business trip on Evernote, and it has changed the way I travel. And I write my outlines and scripts for my videos and my blog right on Evernote. Tip number 4. Get as detailed as you can. Use tags in Evernote to make it easier to search for notes as well as relevant content. Organize your notes in the correct notebooks as soon as you can. Set a due date in Todoist for all your tasks. Prioritize your to-do list so that the most important tasks get put at the top and you know what needs to get done ASAP compared to what can be done later in the day. And leave comments as much as you can so you're not just making a mental note. Lastly, tip number 5. Keyboard shortcuts. They have changed my life. Now, this is more of an intermediate level thing. Once you start using the apps, you'll start to figure out what you're going to be using it a lot for, and you'll be able to search the internet to figure out what the keyboard shortcuts are for your particular productivity app. You'd be surprised how much faster you're going to work just by using a few simple keyboard shortcuts. So, just to give you a few keyboard shortcuts that I personally use on Todoist, if you press the A on your keyboard, it'll add a task to the bottom of your list. But if you press Q, a little pop-up window will pop up. If you hit the number sign or the hashtag sign on your keyboard, it'll allow you to assign a task to a certain project. If you hit the plus on your keyboard, it'll allow you to assign a task to a person. And if you press P1, P2, P3, or P4, it'll allow you to prioritize and flag that task as very important or not too important. Now, I do want to say that these keyboard shortcuts only work for the desktop as well as the web version. I've tried it on my iPad and it doesn't work yet. Now, from what I hear, these keyboard shortcuts, especially for Evernote, vary depending on your operating system. I use a Mac. So my best piece of advice for Evernote is to actually just start to observe what is the call to action, and you'll start to see those keyboard shortcuts when you go on the top of the menu where you see file, edit, so on and so forth. One example of a keyboard shortcut that I know works on the Mac OS version is if I hit Command K, it'll allow me to insert a link on the highlighted text. So just make sure you start to take note of the things that you would find useful as a keyboard shortcut and start using it from there. Well, that's it, guys. I just want to thank you so much for watching, and I want to thank Carl for inviting me onto his channel to share my top 5 tips for productivity. If you'd like to see more of my content, you can check out my blog at blog.cocreativecartel.com, and you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at JustKissa, and I'll go ahead and put the links in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Till next time, bye!